Nothing great in the world has been accomplished without passion. Education is the art of making man ethical. An idea is always a generalization, and generalization is a property of thinking. To generalize means to think. People who are too fastidious towards the finite never reach actuality, but lie idle in abstraction till their light gradually dies away. When liberty is mentioned, we must always be careful to observe whether it is not really the assertion of private interests, which is thereby designated. To be independent of public opinion is the first formal condition of achieving anything great or rational, whether in life or in science. Philosophy is by its nature something esoteric, neither made for the mob nor capable of being prepared for the mob. In the case of various kinds of knowledge, we find that what in former days occupied the energies of men of mature mental ability sinks to the level of information. Exercises, and even pastimes for children. And in this educational progress, we can see the history of the world's culture delineated in faint outline. The few assume to be the deputies, but they are often only the despoilers of the many. The learner always begins by finding fault, but the scholar sees the positive merit in everything. Freedom is the truth of necessity. Amid the pressure of great events, a general principle gives no help. Truth in philosophy means that concept and external reality correspond. The very fact that something is determined as a limitation implies that the limitation is already transcended. It is easier to discover a deficiency in individuals, in states, and in providence than to see their real import or value. We do not need to be shoemakers to know if our shoes fit, and just as little have we any need to be professionals to acquire knowledge of matters of universal interest. The richer in relationships thoughts become, the more confused and meaningless becomes their representation in such forms as numbers. The history of the world is none other than the progress of the consciousness of freedom. Once the state has been founded, there can no longer be any heroes. They come on the scene only in uncivilized conditions. Life is essentially the concept which realizes itself only through self-division and reunification. To him who looks upon the world rationally, the world in its turn presents a rational aspect. The relation is mutual. Mere goodness can achieve little against the power of nature. World history is a court of judgment. Animals are in possession of themselves. Their soul is in possession of their body, but they have no right to their life, because they do not will it. Only what is living feels a lack. Poverty in itself does not make men into a rabble. A rabble is created only when there is joined to poverty a disposition of mind, an inner indignation against the rich, against society, against the government. The history of the world is not the theater of happiness. Periods of happiness are blank pages in it, for they are periods of harmony, periods when the antithesis is in abeyance. Personality is that which struggles to lift itself above this restriction and to give itself reality, or in other words, to claim that external world as its own. To make abstractions hold in reality is to destroy reality,